From North Texas Dental Surgery, Wisdom Teeth, and Denture Implant Center, and I have my lovely assistant Kaylin here. All right, so we want to talk a little bit about the number one mistake you can make when choosing somebody for All-on-4. Yeah. Okay. And the reason why I wanted Kaylin here is that you've been working for me almost 3 years, and obviously you've seen tons of All-on-4 happening. And today I wanted to talk about, I've been doing some research on All-on-4. I want to see what's going on. I want to see who's doing what out there. And to my surprise, there are some people out there that are recommending patients go into their final prosthesis like within 24, 48 hours. What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts are how.
Okay, so all right. So obviously we don't rehearse these or we don't like script these, right? So like I'll give you our honest opinion. By the way, we're here on a Sunday afternoon to give you guys this information. So if you guys could please give us a thumbs up and a follow on our channel, that would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so like what typically happens when you do an All-on-4 is that the day of the surgery, whether you have teeth or not, we take out your teeth, we place your implants, right? And then we put your temporaries on, right? So when the All-on-4 protocol was first invented in 1998, what we would do is we would put you in your temporary prosthesis. We would wait about 6 months for your bone and gums to kind of settle down, because what happens is your bone and gum will go through a period of shrinkage after your procedure. And, obviously if there's swelling, all that stuff, and it settles down. And also bone and gums have a tendency to remodel themselves, like reshape themselves. So because of that, as your experience as an assistant, what you've seen on all our All-on-4 patients, right? Mm-hmm. Would you say in those 6 months that we have our patients, like when our patients do the procedure, that you see bone and gum shrinkage?
100%.
Okay. You 100%. See the bone and gum shrinkage?
Oh yeah, they have like spaces, gaps, food will get trapped. They're constantly using their water pick.
Right. So you actually hear patients talking about that, right? Yeah. So the reason I wanted to bring that up is because the reason why we wait 5 or 6 months or around 6 months before we start putting you in your final prosthesis, which is again like the more solid material. It's not the acrylic material. It's the zirconia or nanoceramics like Crystal Ultra, whatever it is. But the reason why we wait so long is because we want everything to settle down. Mm-hmm. You've heard me tell patients this example all the time. Imagine you had a foot surgery, right? And if you were to, imagine we have materials for shoes now that would last a long time. They never broke down. But would you want to get custom fitted for your orthotic or your shoe like a day after surgery?
No.
Hell no.
Yeah.
That's like the most ludicrous thing you could ever think about. Your foot's going to go, be really swollen for a period of time. It's going to, even a month later, imagine over a period of time, several months, your foot finally shrinks down to its final state. Mm-hmm. Then you get fitted for that final shoe, right? That would just make sense. If you get fitted too soon, you're going to have spacing that opens between your foot and the shoe.
Foot's going to be all wobbly.
Right. Exactly. And then that's going to be an issue when you start running miles on it day after day after day, right? Yeah. So you'll start developing issues. Yeah. And the mouth is the exact same. And so one of the ways that manifests is we've seen patients, and while they're in their tempers, they start asking because they think something's going wrong, right? And they're like, why am I developing spaces here, or the food's getting caught in here, or sometimes when I'm talking, I can whistle or I could feel the air going through.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and I'm thinking, too, not even just from the patient side, I'm thinking clinically, all that weight on your implants right after you got it done.
Especially if it was zirconia.
Yeah.
Right? So, so number one issue that patients that you're going to see, that you're going to complain about is the spacing. Okay? We hear it all the time. And that's why we tell patients, hey, not only is it that the implants are healing for 3 to 4 months that we want to wait to get you in your final prosthesis, but it's the manifestations that you would see that you would complain about is the gaps, food getting caught in there, air going through there. It's just not that tight fit,
causing a lisp.
Yeah. Some patients complain about that. Not common, but some patients complain about that. So let me show you guys what we're really talking about here. So here's a little model here, and what you can see is that you see that spacing that's developing in between there. Now, if a patient isn't really doing a good job of keeping it clean, some clinicians will purposely do that. But what happens is that the bone and gum will shrink, and then all these spaces will develop. And so that becomes a big issue for some patients. It's a common point of complaint for a lot of patients, right? Mm-hmm. So that's number one, what you're going to notice. Number two, I think the other big the issue is that if you get put in your final prosthesis, and let me show you what a final prosthesis looks like, right? So prosthesis is fake gums and teeth. This is one of the Crystal Ultra prostheses. Like, it looks really good, right? But when patients get fitted, like within 24, 48 hours, I mean, patients, like, we've seen this, right? Mm-hmm. Like, when they're in a temporary, after they've been sitting in it for a few months, they realize, hey, you know what? Like, that's not how I wanted the shape of my teeth to be, like, or I wanted,
so many aesthetic changes.
They
right? Change their mind. Once they see it in their mouth, they have it, they get used to it. They're like, I know I really said I wanted this shade. I know I said I wanted really white. Now that I'm looking at it, now that I'm taking pictures, I kind of want to go down a shade.
Right.
Or you see the opposite.
Right.
So having your final the next day doesn't give you that option to choose and decide what aesthetics you want for your mouth.
I mean, you can try to tell your clinician, basically, hey, like, give them an idea, like, this is what I want my teeth to look like and stuff like that. You can even see if it was a digital design even, mm-hmm. like, because that's how you're going to have to do it. Like, the people that are offering you this is, like, the digital design method. We use a digital design, but we don't put you in a final within 48 hours. But what ends up happening is that even though you see it on a computer monitor, like, or you tell them, like, what your thoughts are, when you see it in your mouth, it's totally different, right? And so that's, like, another big example. Like, to make one of these, it's time consuming, right? It's expensive. There's a lot of expense and time consumption. So coming from our end, if we put all that effort in, like, in something, and then a patient is then telling us they didn't like it, I have a feeling some of those clinicians are going to just tell you it is what it is, or
hey, this is for it, yeah,
you already told us, and like any modification is going to cost you extra money. So, if that would be one of my concerns for a patient. Me knowing what I know, that would be one of my concerns.
It's like getting your hair done. You go and get your hair done. You see a picture, it looks great on the picture, and then you put it on your head. It's not what you think it is.
Right.
Now imagine having that the rest of your life, okay? We've all made bad hair decisions, ladies, okay?
Great example. Like, I wasn't thinking about that. But anyways, one other thing. So what is, like, when we're waiting the first 3-4 months, depending on, like, upper or lower jaw, what are we doing along the process? Like, we're taking x-rays.
Healing, taking x-rays,
right.
doing everything.
Like, we need to make sure that those implants are healing well, mm-hmm. right? So if an implant starts having issues, have you ever seen an implant, obviously you've seen me place thousands of implants, mm-hmm. have you ever seen an implant start having issues, like, not a full-blown failure right from the mm-hmm. get-go? It does, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes you just kind of got to wait a little while, like a few months, to kind of monitor the progress and see really what's going on, right? One of my concerns, again, is if this costs a lot and, like, they put you in this in 48 hours and you have an implant that starts having issues.
Yeah. What now?
Exactly, right? Are they going to be acting in your best interests and tell you, hey, you might have an issue? Like, for me, when we're building like you're all on four, I tend to think, your implants that you see here, that's like I like to tell people that's like the foundation for your home, mm-hmm. right? When I had my home built 6 years ago, when they built the foundation, I was inspecting it. I was going all around it, making sure that it was looking good, because we were about to build a house on top of that. That's where it all starts. If your implants aren't sound, or if there tends to be an issue, and then they put you and spent that money on that final, are they going to be upfront with you and tell you that, hey, like, maybe we need to add another implant or take this implant out? When you're in a temporary, we have that option, that flexibility to do it immediately, mm-hmm. right?
And it allows your bone to heal around it without so much pressure as well.
Exactly. Especially if, God forbid, if you were putting in the zirconia, mm-hmm. right? But so I think those are mainly the principal points that I'm thinking about for a patient. Why, if, obviously, like, I've been taking care of the dental concerns for my family, but, if I had a relative out there in a different state and they couldn't come to me for treatment, I would tell them basically these are all the things that they need to look for. And I would tell them, like, hey, don't get put in your final within 48 hours. Do not do that, So, and that's even like with us when we work with Dr. Ross. He's our prosthodontist that we work with. But when, he goes through several temporaries, right? And the reason is like we make sure that your bite and your aesthetics are proper and that you like it. That you ask for a modification, he puts you in another modification. You try it, you tell him what, like, you know, like if that's what you like. So he goes through this painstaking process to make sure that you really are going to like it, because this is going to be your final.
Yeah.
Right.
And he even makes patients wait sometimes. So you'll come to him, you'll say, hey, I want to change this. He'll change it. And then he'll make you wait in it, because what you initially look at it, see, until you get used to it, you may say like something completely different 6 weeks from now than you did when you first looked at it.
Right.
So it's always better to have that time so you can properly make a decision.
Right. And it's not even like, I know we focus so much on the aesthetics, but there's also the functionality aspect of it too, right? The bite and everything. And, you know, he's fantastic about all that stuff. But hopefully you guys found that information helpful. And again, please, if you guys could give us a thumbs up and a follow on our channel, we would really appreciate it. Any questions that you guys have, I actually do try to go through YouTube and answer all these questions for you. So please feel free to leave a comment below. Thank you.
Thanks.